There comes a moment in every person's life where the world steps back, the noise fades, the crowd disappears, and you stand alone with nothing but your heartbeat, your doubt, and the brutal honesty of your own reflection. And that's the exact moment where most people collapse, because they never learned how to walk without someone holding their hand. They never learned how to move without applause. They never learned how to believe without validation. But you are being carved into something different, something harder, something sharper, because the universe doesn't give solitude to the weak. It gives solitude to the ones it plans to build into giants. And right now, even if you can't see it, even if you can't feel it, you are in the middle of the kind of transformation that only happens in isolation, the kind that strips you, tests you, and forces you to face the version of yourself you've been running from for years. The world isn't ignoring you, it's shaping you, molding you, preparing you for a life that cannot be carried by fragile shoulders. And if that means walking through long nights with no reassurance, if that means grinding through exhaustion nobody sees, if that means waking up with doubt pounding in your chest, yet still choosing to move, then understand this: not everyone gets chosen for this kind of journey. Only the ones who can endure silence without losing their fire. Only the ones who can build without being noticed. Only the ones who can push without being praised. Because the truth is simple. If you need support to move, you will never make it. If you need applause to work, you will die average. If you need company to stay disciplined, you were never serious to begin with. You keep wondering why life left you alone, why the people you cared about faded away, why nobody checks on you anymore. But what you don't see is that your path requires a level of strength that cannot grow around comfort. Your purpose requires a version of you that does not rely on anyone's belief. And the moment you stop expecting someone to save you, the moment you stop waiting for someone to understand you, the moment you stop crying about being alone, that is when you finally step into the reality of what it means to be self-made. Not the cute social media version, but the brutal, ruthless, isolating truth of it. The version where you wake up and grind even though nobody sees. The version where you walk forward even though nobody guides you. The version where you bleed for a future nobody believes in yet. The version where your only competition is the voice in your head telling you to quit. And trust me, that voice will hit harder than any hater ever could. It will whisper that you're wasting your time, that nobody cares, that your effort is pointless, that your vision is fantasy. But that's the moment that separates warriors from watchers. Because the warrior hears the doubt and moves anyway. The warrior hears the fear and pushes anyway. The warrior hears the silence and builds anyway. Because he understands that pressure is not the enemy. It's the currency of greatness. And the ones who rise are always the ones who learn to carry their own weight when everyone else dropped theirs. People look at success and think it's glamour, money, applause, fame. But what they don't see is that every successful person once walked through seasons where not a single soul believed in them. Seasons where they cried alone, worked alone, fell alone, and stood up alone. Because life will force you into isolation, so that when you rise, nobody can claim they built you. Nobody can say they made you. Nobody can pretend they helped you up. You earn every inch with your own sweat and your own scars, and that's what makes you untouchable. Understand this clearly. Loneliness is not a punishment, it's initiation. It's the universe saying, let's see what you do without hand-holding. Let's see what you do when nobody claps. Let's see what you do when nobody guides you. Because the world only respects the ones who respect their own grind. The ones who move without emotional babysitting. The ones who walk through darkness without asking for a flashlight. And if you choose to keep going when there's no reward in sight, if you choose discipline over the comfort of being carried, if you choose progress over pity, then there will come a day where the same people who overlooked you will pretend they always supported you. They will call you lucky. They will call you chosen. But deep down you will always know the truth. You were not chosen. You were consistent. You were not lucky. You were relentless. You were not helped. You were forged by nights of silence, mornings of doubt, afternoons of weakness, all battled alone. And that's why your victory will taste different. It won't be sweet because others clapped. It will be sacred because you earned it with nothing but your own will. So stop waiting for the world to notice you. Stop waiting for someone to validate you. Stop waiting for support to magically appear. Because the world is not moved by intentions. It is moved by results. And results are born in the unseen hours, where you pull yourself out of bed when your heart is tired, where you push through work, when your mind says stop, where you whisper keep going, even when everything in you wants to break. Because that's the kind of resilience that cannot be taught. It must be lived. It must be suffered through. It must be bled for. And you, whether you realize it or not, are already walking through the storm that will create the version of you the world won't be able to ignore. So don't fear the silence. Don't fear the distance. Don't fear the nights where you feel forgotten. You're not forgotten, you're being prepared. And when the time comes, your rise will be so loud, so undeniable, so unshakable, that the world will have no choice but to acknowledge what you built in the dark, alone with nothing but your vision and your will to win. There comes a point in your journey where the world stops pretending to care, where every comforting voice goes silent, where every distraction fades, and all you're left with is the raw truth of who you really are when no one is clapping. No one is checking, no one is watching, and that moment is not a curse. It is an initiation into the version of yourself you were always meant to become. Because greatness is never born in crowds. It is forged in the brutal emptiness of self-responsibility, where every excuse dies and every weakness is exposed. And right now the universe has placed you exactly where you need to be. Alone. Uncomfortably alone, painfully alone, not because you are unwanted or forgotten, but because life is stripping away everything soft about you, everything weak about you, everything dependent about you, breaking you apart, so it can rebuild you into someone who doesn't fall apart when people disappear, someone who doesn't collapse when the world goes quiet, someone who doesn't lose direction because nobody is holding their hand anymore, someone who doesn't need support to stay disciplined, someone who doesn't need motivation to stay dangerous, someone who doesn't need applause to stay relentless. Because the truth nobody tells you is that support is overrated, applause is temporary. Validation is a drug that keeps you addicted to the expectations of people who don't even know their own purpose. And those people, the ones who doubt you, ignore you, misunderstand you and underestimate you, they aren't your enemies. They're distractions, and life is removing them for a reason. Because the path you're walking requires tunnel vision, requires hunger, requires a level of internal fire that cannot grow in comfort, cannot grow in noise, cannot grow in company. Solitude is not the absence of people. It is the presence of yourself, the version of you you've been avoiding for years, the version of you buried under fear, pressure, laziness, and self-doubt, the version of you that only appears when you are tested by loneliness, bruised by disappointment, bent by pressure, and still you refuse to break. This is the version life is calling forward, and it will not appear until you stop asking, "Why is no one helping me?" and start asking, "What am I capable of if I stop waiting?" Because the truth is simple, brutal, and liberating. No one is coming to lift you, guide you, save you, or push you, and that's exactly what makes you dangerous. When you stop relying on people, nothing can be taken away from you. When you stop relying on praise, nobody can manipulate you. When you stop relying on comfort, nothing can scare you. And when you stop relying on company, silence becomes your weapon, not your prison. People will abandon you, misunderstand you, doubt you, ignore your effort, downplay your vision. And that's fine. It's not their responsibility to believe in you. It's your responsibility to believe in the vision you were given, the calling placed inside you, the mission only you can hear. And yes, this path is lonely, painfully lonely, but it's in this loneliness you will discover your true capacity, because right now you are being tested, shaped, sharpened, stretched, and strengthened in ways the world will never understand. And that's why your future victories will shock them, because they didn't see the nights you cried alone, the mornings you forced yourself out of bed when your soul felt heavy, the days you pushed through exhaustion with no praise in sight, the hours you sat with your own thoughts and kept walking anyway. Nobody will ever truly understand what it cost you, and that's what makes your journey sacred. You are becoming someone the world will eventually admire, but you must first endure being someone the world overlooks, and that is the price of becoming unstoppable. Because once you learn to walk alone, once you learn to hold yourself together when everything around you falls apart, once you learn to generate discipline without witnesses, once you learn to build momentum without support, once you learn to speak strength into your own mind when every thought screams to quit, once you master that, nobody will ever have power over you again. Understand this, you are not stuck. You are being built, you are not forgotten. You are being hardened. You are not falling behind. You are being prepared. And the world is silent around you because noise would interrupt the construction of the new you. The version of you who's not fueled by approval but fueled by mission. not controlled by fear but powered by conviction, not dependent on motivation but driven by purpose. And when you finally come out of this season, when you finally rise from these lonely hours, when you finally step into the results of everything you've been building in the dark, the world will act surprised. They'll call you lucky, they'll call you chosen, they'll call you gifted, but you will know you are none of those things. You were simply consistent when others quit, focused when others distracted themselves, disciplined when others complained, calm when others panicked, committed when others waited for permission. This journey is not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right, proving that you can endure pressure without breaking, proving that you can walk without being led, proving that you can believe without being validated, proving that you can rise without being supported, proving that you are built for something far greater than the life you were handed, proving that your purpose didn't die when people left, proving that your future didn't collapse when your circle shrank, proving that solitude was the environment you needed to hear your own voice clearly for the first time. The people who rise in this world are the ones who learn to generate their own momentum, create their own discipline, ignite their own fire, and carry their own weight. Because the truth is, most people will never survive the silence that you're surviving. Most people will never endure the pressure you're enduring. Most people will never walk through loneliness without losing themselves, but you are not most people. You are the kind of person who grows through storms, not sunshine. The kind of person who finds clarity in chaos, not comfort. The kind of person who learns to lead themselves because they were never given a leader. The kind of person who becomes unstoppable because they were forced to walk when their legs were shaking, forced to rise when their heart was breaking, forced to keep going when their mind was screaming to quit. And that is why your future will never be normal. You're not building a regular life. You're building a life that requires a forged backbone, a sharpened mindset, a disciplined spirit, a warrior heart. And every lonely night, every silent morning, every unseen struggle, every uncelebrated effort has been shaping that version of you. So keep moving through the quiet. Keep grinding through the doubt. Keep believing through the emptiness. Because your time is coming, your moment is forming. Your rise is loading, and when it hits, it will not be small, it will not be subtle. It will not be humble. It will be a roar that shakes the world that once ignored you, a thunder that echoes through the silence that once threatened you, and a signal to every person who ever doubted you that you were never weak. You were never lost, you were never failing, you were training.